Rogues, rascals, reviewables, rorts, rip-offs, receivers, real estate agents, and much, much more. The Many R's Podcast, Season 1, Episode 3. My name is Mark Smith. Call us anytime, 1300 327, or alternatively, go and visit us at our website, dcpartners.solutions/podcast. Use the instant message chats in the bottom right-hand corner to message us in real time. Thanks. Welcome, YouTubers, to Season 1, Episode 3 of the Many R's Podcast. It was called the 5 R's Podcast, but now we're the Many R's Podcast after unpopular request from an upset lawyer for one of our subjects, shall we say. After a delay, I apologise. I've been doing my uni studies and exams and lots and lots of work. So I apologise. There's been a bit of a gap between episode 2 and 3, but we're back. The exams are out of the way, and we've got an absolute mountain of content to get through. So we're now the Many R's Podcast. We don't just focus on rogues, rascals, reviewables, rorts, rip-offs, but we also consider receivers, real estate, racketeers, you name it, anything you like, whether it starts with R or it doesn't start with R, it doesn't matter. We're here, and we're here to have a bit of fun, but also to talk about some serious topics, corporate villains, travel rip-offs, government malfeasance, iffy lawyers, miscellaneous shysters, definitely the insurance racketeers. And today we're going to talk about 2 of those, I think. And banks, we've got one bank to talk about, one huge bank, and we're actually going to start naming names. So that's going to be a bit exciting. So today we're actually going to talk about the Westpac Bank Victor Ollis rort. And this is just a remarkable story. A little bit old, but the reason it's old is it was a very complex cover up, if you want to call it that, that the bank participated in and was probably helped along the way. And we'll talk about some of the people, not necessarily today, but along the way. This is actually going to take us many episodes. It is huge. It is huge. And over my shoulder here, I've got something like 40 volumes of documents. 40, and so there's easily 3, 4, 5, 6,000 pages of documents on this bank thing. It is massive, by the way. In terms of dollar value, they've left a trail of probably $50 to $100 million of victims, and so we care about the victims, and well, we're going to. We're actually saying it's not Victor Ollis that's the real perp. It's Westpac Bank. So we're going to have a look at that. We're having a look at some good friends called Saunders and Staniforth Valuers, based in Orange, and one of their employees called, their director, he's one of their owners, called Andrew Saunders. He's a town planner and valuer, and their insurance company. I can't name the insurance company because I simply don't know who they are, but I would name them absolutely if I knew. But I can say that the insurance company is represented by a company called by a group of lawyers called Colin Biggers and Paisley Lawyers. So even criminals are entitled to legal representation. So we're not saying that Colin Biggers ought not be representing these insurance crooks, but let's face it. I'll go through some of the factors, and you be the judge whether the insurers here are crooks or not. We're going to touch on business interruption insurance, a bit of an update between episode 2 and 3. There's been a significant Court of Appeal decision handed down. And finally, we'll get to our other good mate, Ralph Ignatius Pellegaru, and what he's up to, and some of his associates. We're going to have a look at we're going to have a look at some of Ralph's associates. Let's just put it that way. So strap in your seatbelt, get a coffee. You might want to turn the speed up on YouTube to 1.5 times. I even find I'm a little bit slow talking, so you might want to ramp the speed up, and let's begin. Okay, before I get into the real meat of today's podcast, you'll see me throughout today's podcast, maybe stopping and pausing and thinking or reflecting before I open my mouth on occasion. We're now called the Many R's podcast because for a number of reasons, including we've had quite a few upset reactions from some of the parties, the subject of this podcast. So we're now not just into rorts and ripoffs and rascals and rogues, but anything you like, beginning with R or not beginning with R or whatever you like. So it's you call it the many R's, but whatever. We've upset some people, and your host is obviously treading on some toes here, and there may well be a few defamation suits coming. So the truth is an absolute defence to defamation. So, for instance, one of the people today that we're going to be talking about, his friends, his boss, his boss is someone that's allegedly killed 20 people. Or more, we don't know. But his boss is sitting in a jail cell somewhere. And so if we simply say, well, X is friends with Y and Y is a criminal, and well, in this case, X holds a power of attorney over Y. So it is in fact the truth. If there's a public interest element and all the rest, well, that's the case. So my apologies if I'm a little bit slow and if I stop to reflect at times, because we're going to be touching on some sensitive things here. And these guys have all got very, very good lawyers, nothing but respect here. So I have to be a little bit careful precisely what I say, that I stick to the truth. So my apologies if there's a few gaps in the talking and in the process. It's just being very, very careful to get the truth out. Thank you. Okay, so Westpac Bank and Victor Ollis and the Victor Ollis rort. Well, it's really the Westpac rort, because I'll give you the story. Victor Ollis was a customer of Westpac, as millions of people are, and Victor Ollis had an account, and he could write out these checks. And as a matter of fact, he wrote out checks to me in the tune of about $3 million, and yeah, very close to $3 million back in 2005. And well, turns out he had this magic check account. I certainly knew nothing about it. Even Westpac claimed it was a Westpac check account. Westpac claimed Westpac claimed they knew nothing. Like the precise evidence given was that no individual in the bank knew. Now, precisely who gave this evidence, we're still working that through. We've got some of the transcripts. We do have the submissions, though. We've got the closing submissions of the Council for Westpac, and so we're going to have a look at those. I am absolutely going to publish the closing submissions, because they include the words, no individual in the bank knew that Mr. Ollis was writing out checks. And I am going to I'm not blaming the barrister. I'm not blaming the lawyer. So please don't sue me. I'm not blaming them, but I'm certainly blaming the bank. And it may well be that the bank misled, or they call them instructions, gave instructions to their lawyer, which neglected a huge fact that in fact, several individuals within the bank did in fact know that Mr. Ollis was writing out checks. And not only was he writing out checks, he was writing out about 40 checks, and he cashed checks to the total of around about $11 million. So give or take. They ended up getting judgment in the tune of about 14 million. So I'm not precise, but I can upload, and I can and will upload a schedule of all the checks that he wrote and who he. Well, I don't know that he. Anyway, the checks, a schedule of those totals about $11 million, and so this is the sloppiest, shittest bank, if I could put it like that, in Australia. And even today, they're getting fined billions of dollars for handing out money to pedophiles in the Philippines, and absolutely shocking stuff. And Westpac, you're a disgrace. So Westpac, again, I don't blame the lawyers. That Westpac probably misled their lawyers, and they certainly, Westpac, in giving evidence and making submissions, I don't blame the lawyers or the barristers, but the submissions were made that no individual in the bank knew that this man was writing out checks to the tune of $11 million, and off they went. So the real thing that pisses me off is that Westpac, some individuals in the bank knew. So that's just outright lies and deception. And they got up in the Supreme Court of New South Wales in front of Justice Einstein, and made these submissions. And look, if we get the evidence of precisely who gave the evidence, look, I will be pushing for that person to go to jail, because I'm saying that is perjury. So if that person knew that other people in the bank did know. So it's perjury under certain circumstances. So let's get into the details a bit later. Now, I am going to name names because there was lots and lots of people involved, and certainly a lot of these people I did meet after they discovered they knew all along between the middle of June, about June 2005 until January 2006, people in the bank, individuals in the bank, did know that this guy was writing out checks. But anyway, certainly the penny dropped, and a guy called Gary Wade, and we'll name others, but certainly Gary Wade, it came to his attention on or about the 11th, 12th of, somewhere in that vicinity of January 2006, and he caused the account to be frozen. I also had knocks on the door from a guy called Mark Murphy, and Mark Murphy no longer is with the bank, former police officer, and he went on to work for the Financial Planning Authority, or Association, I should say, Financial Planning Association. We'll put up a LinkedIn link, and you can follow the illustrious career of Mr. Mark Murphy. Milan Sankovic also knocked on my door, accompanied by Mark Murphy. I've got both their business cards, so it did actually happen. There are some extremely high-profile people we're going to name now. Specifically, I would say those three, Mark Murphy, Milan Sankovic, and Gary Wade, they were investigators. So if they did not know all the facts, well, then they're shit investigators, shall I say. But I suspect they had the full resources of the bank available, and they ought to have known as investigators. There's also their boss was a guy called Trevor McMahon. So he attended a number of meetings. I'll put up some affidavits that discuss the contents of those meetings. another person that attended some of these meetings, he went on to work for the Premier of New South Wales, a guy at the time called Mike Baird. Certainly accusing Mike Baird of nothing. I'm just saying this guy is a big fish. His name is Rob Whitfield. And we have affidavits quoting Rob Whitfield as saying things like, we're exceedingly confident that we're getting our money back. And what Mark Murphy, Gary Wade, Milan Sankovic, and I don't know about Trevor McMahon, but certainly Gary Wade and Mark Murphy then did, they discovered after 6 months, and after other individuals knew, they discovered that this account had been writing out checks for $11 million. And a guy called Andrew Purchase issued a letter and said, oh, hang on, Mr. Ellis, these are unauthorized withdrawals. Give us our money back. We're giving you 48 hours. Now, just put it to one side here. The conditions of his account said, if you overdraw your account, you've got 60 days to pay the money back. These guys gave Ollis 2 days. Andrew Purchase wrote the letter and signed it. I've got a copy of the letter. And I believe that Rob Whitfield was in the room. Trevor McMahon was in the room when the letter of demand was given to Mr. Ollis. And at the time, Gary Wade was certainly writing to the New South Wales Fraud Squad. There was no fraud. There's simply a shit bank who has no controls giving out $11 million. And subsequent to that, Gary Wade wrote, yes, I think Gary Wade was the person that wrote to the New South Wales Crime Commission and said, would you please be our government debt collector, and would you go and freeze this man's bank accounts, because we've effed up and we've handed out $11 million. It's not a crime. It's going to take us 60 days to get the money back. And, Mr. Ollis is a very not nice person. Give us our money back. Rob Whitfield, it is alleged in sworn affidavits that Rob Whitfield said, we're very confident that the New South Wales government at the time, this was 2005, the Yama or Bob Carr or whoever was the Premier. And so we're not talking about Gladys, we're talking about the other mob, Labor, were in power. And Rob Whitfield is alleged to have said words to the effect that we're exceedingly confident the New South Wales Crime Commission will act as our debt collector and pick up our $11 million and give it back to us. Now, that is not how the Criminal Assets Recovery Act works. The Criminal Assets Recovery Act is a power that the Crime Commission has, and for good reason. It confiscates money from criminals and gives that money, because there's no owner, it gives that money to the Treasurer of New South Wales, and it's then the Treasurer's money, and it's not Westpac's money. So this was a absolute abuse by Westpac Bank in having the state of New South Wales act as their private debt collector, or their public debt collector, if you like. So look, some of the other names that we're going to talk about, Julie Hanna, I don't know a great deal about her. Andrew Purchase, I'll give you the exact spelling of this. This will all be on our podcast that you'll be able to find at www.dcpartners.solutions/podcast. And I'll put the names at the bottom here in the YouTube video as well. Andrew Purchase, Robert Reynolds, called Bob. Now, Bob, as I understand it, is very, very high up in the bank, or certainly was at the time. I wrote to a lady called Gail Kelly. Gail Kelly was the CEO of Westpac. Before that, she was the CEO of St. George Bank. And I'm accusing her of doing precisely nothing. She did absolutely nothing. And I armed her with facts that I'll provide a copy of the letter. Anyway, she did absolutely nothing. Gwyn Morgan. Now, this is a bloke, apparently. Gwyn, Gwyn. Morgan. Maybe it's a Scottish name. I don't know. Again, extremely high up. I wrote to Gail Kelly, and Gwyn Morgan wrote back and said, "Yep, we're doing nothing." We have, I'll pull out the letter and I'll publish a copy of the letter. The effect of it is that it says, well, we have legal advice and we're following our legal advice. Now, it may be that the bank failed to instruct its lawyers and thus got legal advice that suited it. So it possibly failed to instruct its lawyers that, yeah, absolutely, individuals in the bank did know. So that is a little bit about some of the people. Now, we're going to talk about the lawyers now, since I've raised them. Their lawyers are an extremely high-powered bunch of people. Philip Crawford, now, just to be crystal clear, I am not accusing the lawyers of any wrongdoing. I'm just accusing them of being Westpac's lawyers. And it's a fact. These guys were Westpac's lawyers. If their client, Westpac, did not give them proper instructions, well, that's probably gets the lawyers off the hook. So not that they're on any hook, but these people obviously can't mislead the court. And I'm not saying that they did knowingly. If Westpac failed to instruct them, well, that's probably a complete defence. So the lawyers, we've got Henry Davis York is the law firm's name. Now, I think they've changed their name to something else. The lawyer in charge, and I have his signature on documents, his name is Philip Crawford. He is now deciding, he and his committee is now deciding whether James Packer is going to get Crown Casino Sydney, whether they're going to get a casino license, what the terms and conditions of that casino license are. This is an incredibly high up the ladder person. And so I'm not accusing Philip Crawford of anything other than maybe he's got a crooked client called Westpac Bank. He worked with a lady called Claudine Salamar. I met her. I certainly met Philip Crawford on occasions, and they seemed honourable. Okay, not accusing them of wrongdoing, other than I'm saying, well, their client is a cheat, a crook. Westpac, yes, they're corporate thieves. There you go. Other people that worked on this, Michael Sullivan, Noel McCoy, and a guy called Edward Downer. I really upset Edward Downer. Edward Downer's father is a guy called Alexander Downer. So these are people, they're not going to be happy to be named. All I'm accusing them of being is lawyers for Westpac. And again, the joys of working from home in the COVID era. So we're just saying that these lawyers have a crooked client in the shape of Westpac Bank, and I'm saying Westpac Bank are corporate villains. So nothing else. I'm not saying that the lawyers have done anything improper. They've no doubt received instructions from their clients, and they're just following instructions. So that's that. But I'm just saying these are the lawyers, and look, they may well be victims of Westpac as well, in that they've been used, if that's the term, used by Westpac to con the unknowingly con the Supreme Court of New South Wales. So they're barristers. The man that finally signed off on the closing submissions that no individual in the bank knew that Mr. Victor Ollis was writing out 11 million bucks worth of checks. Those were his instructions, I'm sure. James Stevenson, senior counsel. So I'm not accusing him of writing something that he knew was incorrect. I'm not accusing him. He also had another barrister that either was there at the time or came along afterwards. His name was Nick Kabilafkis. I'll have to spell that, and I'll include the words down below. Now, I did actually, I've got transcripts of things that Nick Kabilafkis said, and Nick Kabilafkis does say things to the tune of, or to the effect that money that Ollis obtained was fruit of a poison tree, proceeds of crime, in other words. Victor Ollis has never been to jail. Victor Ollis, Victor Ollis, in relation to these overdrawals, has never been to jail. He's never been charged with any crime in relation to those overdrawals. And we now move to the New South Wales Crime Commission. They do not actually have to even believe that, they don't have to believe that there was a crime. They just only have to suspect a crime. And so Gary Wade and Mark Murphy, investigators at the bank, they must have known that individuals in the bank did know from the middle of 2005 through until January 2006 that individuals did know. And precisely, I now know who those individuals are. I've got the police records, I've got Westpac records, and I know who those people in the bank are. I can give you their staff numbers, I can give you the dates that they knew, and I can show you the bank statements. So the bank statements make it clear that people in the bank did know precisely what was going on. And there was it was certainly found that there was a glitch in the Westpac system, a huge glitch. But look, Westpac was very ably assisted by the New South Wales Crime Commission acting as a private debt collector for Westpac, and they put the pressure on Victor Ollis. They froze. They used their powers to cause the Supreme Court of New South Wales to freeze bank accounts and assets of Victor Ollis. We'll go through the circumstances. The people that helped, the people at the Crime Commission who did the heavy lifting for Westpac, certainly a bloke called Jonathan Lee Spark. He was one of them. Another guy called Lou Novakovic. Yes. Now, I believe Lou's no longer there. There was certainly adverse reflections, the findings, hearings, whatever, things that were said about Lou Novakovic, and he's punted. I had some discussions with a guy called Ron Sansa, and as early as about the 6th of February 2006, Ron Sansa made representations to me that Westpac was getting all of their money back. And again, this is not how the Criminal Assets Recovery Act works. The state uses its powers to confiscate crime and give that money to the Treasurer of New South Wales. It's not there to confiscate money and give it to Westpac Bank. That's not how it works. John Giorgiuti, I've probably mispronounced that. I'll include the spelling. John Giorgiuti is a very high up lawyer at the New South Wales Crime Commission. I do recall he was on holidays for most of the relevant time, so I don't accuse him of much, and we'll get into the fine detail. The barrister that appeared for the New South Wales Crime Commission in maybe not all of the proceedings, but certainly many of them, was another very high up man called Ian Temby. He's a senior counsel, and I have some sympathy for Ian Temby because he must have wondered. He must have wondered, what are we doing here collecting this money for Westpac? We're supposed to be using our powers to collect the money and give it to the state of New South Wales, the Treasurer of New South Wales. So I am going to make sure that the Treasurer of New South Wales, who just happens to be my local member, Dominic Perrottet, I'm going to make sure that Dominic Perrottet knows all these facts and receives a brief, and let's see what happens. So Westpac, that is a little bit about the Westpac rort. We're going to get into specifics, and this is going to take weeks and weeks. And as I said, around about 40 volumes over my shoulder here, at least 5,000 pages of documents. And the gist of this rort is that Westpac bullshitted to the... and I'm not saying precisely who did it, but the evidence, the submissions that were handed in, the instructions that Westpac gave their lawyers, was that no individual in the bank knew. We're going to look at those documents. We're going to examine and analyse that over the coming few episodes. Maybe it takes us all of season 1, all of season 2, all of season 3. I don't know. But we're going to keep talking and publishing until we get to the bottom of precisely what people did know and didn't know. But Westpac... I was just saying, who knew what? Westpac lawyers, we're going to pull apart some police records that I obtained. I took the Commissioner of Police, the New South Wales Commissioner of Police, to court under Freedom of Information, and I received about 3,000 pages of documents. And some of those include meeting notes where Mark Murphy absolutely, definitely was there, and where that handwritten notes, some of these are redacted, so there is some vague... I'm going to publish them and you be the judge. But some of the handwritten notes, this was called Strike Force Green something. I'm sorry, it's gone out of my head. And under this particular strike force, there was police officers who, with Mark Murphy and others, came to the conclusion this was a civil debt. Yet the New South Wales Crime Commission, 1 year later, is still putting up the pretense that we're going to confiscate this money and give it to the Treasurer of New South Wales. And that was bullcrap. So this is corporate malfeasance. There is some government malfeasance. They may well, the New South Wales Crime Commission may well have had the powers to initially freeze, but they carried on long after. They knew, according to Ron Sansa, 6th of February 2006. Now, the freezing orders are dated the 19th of January. So I'm saying 2 weeks after, maybe 2.5 weeks after, they knew it was their intention to recover the money and not give it to the Treasurer of New South Wales, but to give it to Westpac. And I'm saying that is the rort. There is a lot more to come on Westpac Bank, the New South Wales Crime Commission, and this particular rort. And it may well involve the previous government, don't know. But Rob Whitfield is alleged to have, and I'll put up the affidavit, he is alleged to have said that he's extremely confident. One of those words, something to that effect, that he was very confident that Westpac would be getting its money from the state of New South Wales or from the Crime Commission or somehow. And we'll end it there. Okay, moving right along to our next subject, Saunders and Staniforth and Andrew Saunders. Look, this is complex, and Andrew is a valuer. Andrew is also a town planner. Andrew is a director of a company called Saunders and Staniforth, and Saunders and Staniforth allegedly merged with another valuer called Robert Patfield in April of 2005. And a number of these things did not actually come out until 2013 to 16, somewhere in that vicinity. And that's kind of where we're at. So the allegation against Saunders is that he gave negligent town planning advice. Alternatively, that Robert Patfield gave negligent valuation, provided negligent valuations in February 2007, April 2008. Then Mitchell Staniforth, who is a business partner and director of Saunders and Staniforth, gave a negligent valuation in about April of 2010. And this was all discovered in about August or September of 2013, at which time it's alleged that Andrew Saunders said in front of a guy called Roger Eddy of Rain and Horn in Orange, said that, oh, I effed up, blank, expletive. That's the allegation. We've subpoenaed documents from Roger Eddy of Rain and Horn at Orange, and Roger Eddy has not responded. So that in itself is contempt of court. You are subpoenaed. You are ordered by the District Court of New South Wales to hand over documents, the subject, listed in a schedule. Roger Eddy has not done that. We have subpoenaed documents from Saunders and Staniforth on the dated the 9th of July this year, 2020. It is now the 9th of December. There you go, 5 months. 5 months. And in contempt without a good excuse. And I say that there is no good excuse. But anyway, thus far, what I do know is that the subpoena has not been complied with. So what I can also say is that with confidence that Andrew Saunders did a valuation of this same property that had been valued by Patfield and Staniforth in 2007, 2008, 2010, a rising market from 2007 through to 2014, the market's rising. Well, Andrew Saunders, in issues of valuation dated the 17th of January 2014, saying, oh, no, actually, market's fell. The market has fallen. So the joys of the COVID era, working from home. Here we are again. I was just saying that Andrew Saunders has said, just ignore all of those previous valuations from Patfield. Patfield in 2007, 2008, Staniforth in 2010. No, the market hasn't actually increased. It has fallen since between 2007 and 2014. Now, I'm saying that is crap. So a complaint was made to the Australian Property Institute about Andrew Saunders. That, well, I'll upload the complaint and you can read it. But I can tell you the finding of the sanction report was handed out on Andrew Saunders, and it was found that Andrew Saunders breached Rule 1.1. So I'm talking. This is the first commandment, and it includes duties there that the valuer must act with integrity, must not be dishonest, or must be honest, must be competent, must not have bias, etc., etc. Well, Andrew Saunders, caught metaphorically with his pants down by his peers, has been sanctioned for breaching the most fundamental of fundamental rules. And Andrew Saunders accepted the penalty, so he has not appealed. He has accepted that in 2014 he issued, I guess, is it fair? It's probably fair to say, well, his peers found that he breached Rule 1.1, the foundational cardinal rule of valuers about honesty, integrity, lacking bias, and all the rest. So Andrew Saunders, this sanction speaks for itself. Andrew Saunders was also found in the same sanction report to have breached two other codes of conduct, 6.3 something and 6.4 something. So look, I'll upload that. Andrew Saunders, if you're engaging Andrew Saunders, these are, if you're engaging Andrew Saunders, you would want to know that your valuer has integrity, is honest. You're probably going to take this valuation and loan money against that valuation. So your funds are at risk. So it is vital that your valuer acts with integrity. And sadly, Andrew Saunders, it seems, has admitted he has not appealed. So he accepts that he breached Rule 1.1. It seems that's his conduct. He accepts that. Well, he hasn't appealed the decision, so he's taken to have accepted that he has breached Rule 1.1, 6.3, and 6.4. So I'll upload the sanction report. In addition to that, as I said, Roger Eddy has not complied with the subpoena. Saunders and Staniforth has also been ordered. A subpoena is an order of the District Court of New South Wales. They have been ordered to hand over a schedule of documents. And the 9th of December, so this is 5 months later, we're still waiting. And we had an extremely unsatisfactory hearing with on the 4th, that was last Friday, with Saunders and Staniforth. And I have to be very careful what I say here because this is on the record. But Saunders and Staniforth, the lawyers for Saunders and Staniforth, they're called Colin Biggers and Paisley. They sent along a barrister, and the barrister told Her Honour, that Justice Strathdy, that his words were to the effect, "I have not seen this particular affidavit that the plaintiff, my company, was talking about," and that was his submission to Her Honour. You and I go to court. We're not solicitors. There is a standard that's expected of us that we tell the truth. A barrister, a lawyer, there is a higher standard expected of that barrister, that lawyer. These are people that are professionals, that are expected to conduct themselves with integrity in the court. And when the judge says, "Have you have you seen? Are you ready? When a barrister gets up, it's expected that he tells the truth. Well, this particular barrister, Mr. It's difficult to pronounce. Leplastriere. I'll spell that, and I'll put his details there. He got up and said, "No, we haven't." He had not seen a affidavit that had been sworn and filed in the court on the 1st of December. This is on the 4th. He's giving this submission to Her Honour. He's saying he didn't receive it. Well, I'll put up the tracking device. So we use a system called HubSpot, which tracks our emails, and I can tell you with absolute confidence that that particular email was sent on the 1st of December at about 9:20. It was opened as early as about 9:40 on that particular day. It was not sent to that barrister. It was sent to the office of Colin Biggers and Paisley. They are lawyers retained by Saunders and Staniforth or their insurance company, and it was that particular email was opened between the 1st and the 4th of December in the vicinity of 54 times. It defies some belief that this guy did not. Well, I'll put it another way. It defies belief that the lawyers, Colin Biggers and Paisley, a very big law firm, usually known to be competent. It defies belief that this particular law firm did not notice in the 54 times that they opened the email, they did not notice, and it actually, the subject line says, "We're serving you with the motion and the affidavit and all the rest." Well, they didn't notice. So there was a discussion that happened in the court, and our side said that, "Oh, hang on, Your Honour, they haven't seen the affidavit. We can see in plain sight, sitting at the bar table here, standing at the bar table, we can see in plain sight. There is our exhibit right there in that guy's in that Mr. Leplastriere's suitcase. We can see our exhibit." Mr. Leplastriere has then got to his feet and said, "Oh yes, we received the exhibit, but we did not receive the motion." Now, scratch your head. A little puzzling, but so they've opened it 54 times. They have seen some of the attachments, but not all of them. So this is an allegedly competent law firm, Colin Biggers and Paisley. It may well be that Brett Leplastriere, if that's how you pronounce his surname, he may be telling absolutely the truth, that he never saw one of the attachments. I am extremely dubious that his instructing solicitors, Colin Biggers and Paisley, did not see it. And in fact, I have correspondence from one of their lawyers, a guy called Jack Golding, stating that, "Oh, well, actually, these were not served in time." So that seems to suggest that they did see them. Why Jack Golding has not provided both the attachments, certainly Mr. Leplastriere, if that's how you pronounce it, has told Her Honour, Justice Strathdeey, that he's got a 370-page attachment. Yep, he's got that, but was not provided the 10-page affidavit, whatever. Mind boggles. So we're talking about Colin Biggers and Paisley, an insurance company lawyer, and we're talking about Saunders and Staniforth here. It's it's buyer beware. If you're using Saunders and Staniforth, and we're also talking about contempt of court, subpoenas being ignored. We can tell you there's two. Raine and Horne, they are real estate agents. Starts with R. They are independent, no doubt, of Saunders and Staniforth, but they do happen to be in the same building in Orange, in Lord's Place. One is downstairs, one is upstairs. Saunders and Staniforth upstairs, Raine and Horne downstairs. Raine and Horne has been subpoenaed and has not served documents, not produced documents as ordered. So this is a extremely unsatisfactory set of arrangements with Saunders and Staniforth, and we're just putting this out there that these things factually have happened with Saunders and Staniforth. And if you're a lender that uses Saunders and Staniforth, you may want to know, it may be in your interest to know precisely the ethics and the competence and otherwise and sanctions that Andrew Saunders seems to accept. Okay, I'm just going to go slightly further on this topic of Saunders and Staniforth. We're just doing some editing, and I'm just going to go slightly further into this allegation that Mr. gosh, it's hard to say. Brett Lepastriere got to his feet on the 4th of December in front of Justice Strathday and said, "We have not received the affidavit, and they have not received the motion." And the affidavit was filed with in support of the motion. And I just about 5 minutes ago in this recording, I spoke about a conversation, correspondence from a fellow called Jack Golding at Colin Biggers and Paisley. Now, I've gone back through my notes and I can see that that correspondence, he talked about correspondence having been filed out of time, and he referred to orders that were made, I think on the 29th of October, that gave us until around about the 24th, maybe even 25th of November to file a motion. Now, Jack Golding refers to this. He specifically uses the words order 2. We refer to order 2 of the orders that were made by Her Honour Justice Strathday in October. And now he's referring to order 2. He's referring to the orders, and he clearly has knowledge that we had leave to file a notice, a motion. And it follows then, he's a solicitor, he's a competent solicitor. It follows that the motion must be supported by an affidavit. So at the time I was right in the midst of sitting an exam, and so on the 2nd I wrote back and said, "Sorry Jack, I just don't have enough time to respond properly to this this second, but we've said, however, we noticed that Her Honour's associate has extended the time for us to comply with the orders." And that is in fact what Her Honour's associate did. Her Honour's associate extended the time. Now, we filed those motions on the motion and the affidavit. We filed it on the 1st. This correspondence with Jack Golding is happening on the 2nd of December, and Brett Leplastriere gets up on his feet on the 4th and says, words to the effect, "I'm only just seeing this affidavit now." Now, go back a week to about the 25th of November, about then. that is when Her Honour's associate granted us until the 4th of December to comply with the previous orders, the October orders. It is just absolutely phenomenal that Jack Golding was completely unaware, or I'll put it another way, Jack Golding or Colin Biggers and Paisley, the partner that's handling this matter, I've got every reason to believe he's competent. His name's Jonathan Newby. Sure, he'd have a extremely large insurance company as a client, so he would want to, if the word is please, he'd want to do his job, and he may well wish to please that insurance company by quote unquote winning or not losing. So we've got Mr. Golding acknowledging the orders. In other words, we had leave to file a motion, which we did, and we sent them a draft of that motion. So it wasn't filed. We sent them a draft on about the 25th of November. Her Honour's associate extends the time for filing that until the 4th of December, but well within time, on the 1st, we file that, and we're having this correspondence with Jack Golding on the 2nd, and we're saying, oh, we're in time. We were given leave until the 4th, and so it is. I scratched my head before. It is rather puzzling that between nothing was sent to Mr. Lepastriere. When you're communicating with someone, you communicate with the solicitor and not the barrister. Okay, so there was no direct correspondence with their barrister, Mr. Lepastriere. I just find it head-scratching, puzzling that Colin Biggers and Paisley has not joined the dots and has not has provided, because we know Mr. Lepastriere had the exhibit. It was sitting in his briefcase. We saw it. We pointed that out to His Honour, Her Honour. Mr. Lepastriere admitted, "Oh yes, yeah, we got the exhibit, but we did not get the motion." It's given that Colin Biggers and Paisley received the, don't deny that they received the draft of the motion. They produced something else that was attached to that same email. They attached, there was a sworn affidavit, and they produced that. Like, they handed that up to the court, and that was dated the 25th of November or thereabouts. They handed that up to the court on the 4th of December, and Jack Golding's writing about that on the 2nd of December. But for some reason, the draft subpoenas and the motion, Jack Golding very efficiently blocked that out of his mind. No one at that very competent law firm briefed their barrister, who must be on, well, he's on $4,000 a day, I think. So you figure that out. It's $500 an hour. You want to waste the time of someone that you're paying $500 an hour? We're just not going to brief you on something that's coming up, and we're really not going to brief you on something that's even filed. We're like burning money here. We're Colin Biggers and Paisley. We like, they don't burn money. Okay, I'm being ironic. Joe from the Aston Pyromania. We're not saying Colin Biggers and Paisley burn money. But you'd have to believe that, well, you'd probably have to believe then that in the 50-something times that Colin Biggers and Paisley opened the email, they did not notice the attached motion and affidavit in support filed on the 1st. in the email that states we attach and we serve electronically the motion. So it's kind of remarkable. If you believe that, then you would believe 100 trillion percent Mr. Lepastriere. Now, he may be telling the truth, but if you believe that, I don't know what to say. Okay, so business interruption insurance. I think we touched on this briefly, and I mentioned that there was a decision pending, perhaps at the time. That's right, about this thing called business interruption insurance. And one of our other side businesses is something called assetprotection.biz. So you can go and have a look at that website, assetprotection.biz. And we help with some of the stuff that we've done with Westpac and that you're perhaps starting to get the flavour of, and dealing with people like Ralph Palagaru and Saunders and Staniforth, and we think that we're in a reasonable position to help people with protection of their assets, and because sadly there are these not so good players out there like Westpac that might seek to take advantage of some ordinary small business person, and so it's asset protection is important. And one of the ways people protect their assets is with insurance, and a case it was considered a trial case. It went up to the New South Wales Court of Appeal. So that is one court below the High Court in Canberra. So, I mean, straight past the District Court, straight past the Supreme Court, to the Court of Appeal. So I think there was something like either 3 or possibly 5 judges of the Supreme Court. So these are not dummies. And I believe the decision was unanimous. So we're talking about insurance rip-offs, and I work with, I won't say the name of the guy, but I have tremendous respect for this particular lawyer, and his name's Tim. There you go. I won't say what his surname is, but in case he doesn't want that. But he is a tremendous lawyer, and he told me we had this conversation in either March or April about this thing called business interruption insurance. And I certainly took note because one of my side businesses, another one, is called Snow Gums Events. And we were running an insurance claim at that particular time, and we'd had some damage caused by snow. And we had a wedding, but it looked, I forget the exact timing. Anyway, we had to cancel this particular event, and so. But even if our marquee hadn't been damaged by snow, we had looked into this business interruption insurance. We've got some comprehensive insurance, and anyway, as it turned out, we weren't entitled to business interruption insurance under the wording that came out at the time. So I think we signed up to new wording in maybe February of 2020. But anyway, business interruption insurance. Tim and I talked about this in about March or April, about some businesses. I won't say the profession, but like there's clearly thousands of these particular profession. It's not doctors, but let's say it's a profession, a highly respected profession. And this particular profession was shut down. I won't go into the circumstances, but there is going to be a huge claim. And we were talking about this, and I've known about this since about April, that there was this class action coming. And these insurance racketeers have been taking money from these professionals, promising to cover them in the event of It would depend on the fine print, but their business is being interrupted. So if we, let's say I ran a doctor's surgery out of this room here, and a truck ran into the building, and that interrupted our business, and we could no longer operate doctor surgery from here. Well, that's the sort of event that was probably envisaged to be covered by business interruption insurance. And in March or April, Tim and I had this conversation about the pandemic, and it turned out that these dopes, these dopey insurance companies had completely screwed up this the fine print. Now, they hadn't. My renewal that came out in February was spot on. Okay, but people that took out policies before COVID-19 came along most probably had defective wording. And all I'm saying to people is it is a gigantic opportunity if your business has been interrupted and that you've lost sales or had to close your office because of the pandemic. You most probably have got business interruption insurance, and it's something you really need to have a look at. So if you've got any business interruption insurance and you want to send us a copy, go to our website, www.dcpartners.solutions/podcast, and in the bottom right corner is a instant chat tool, and you can upload copies of your policy, and we'll have a look at those for you. No, absolutely no charge, and see whether you're likely to have coverage. So, business interruption insurance, if you've got cover, and certainly if you took it out back in probably before, if you took it out in 2019 or before, and like it renewed in 2019, but not in 2020, there's a very good chance that you've got cover for pandemic cover and loss of business. Now, you've still got to prove that you've lost. If you can't prove it, well, there's no benefit. But it's something business people should have a look at. Okay, and that is business interruption insurance. Okay, in the final clip of this particular podcast, we're going to talk now about Ralph Ignatius Pellegaru. And Ralph claims Ralph is a citizen of Fiji as well as a citizen of Australia, and recently lived at 88 Perfection Avenue at Stanhope Gardens. And that was, look, it's very weird. The entire set of dealings with Ralph is very unusual. And Ralph, we say that this is in the public interest. Ralph is in Fiji today. It's the 9th of December. He claims he will tell anyone that he comes in contact with. He certainly told those that need to know, he will tell that he has connections to high office in Fiji, almost as high as it goes. So we're talking cabinet ministers, the Reserve Bank of Fiji, the Fiji Hardwood Corporation. He claims to have connections to important people, and it is a fact that Ralph is a director of a company called Mills Management Fiji Private Limited, and this company has a lease over a timber mill at a place called Draketi in Lambasa, Fiji, and that's on one of the Northern Islands. And no doubt, if they're milling timber, and if they're exporting that timber, because it's all sold overseas, then Ralph is going to come in contact with government officials. He's going to need, he and his company are going to need export permits. They're going to need logging permits. They're going to need all sorts of permits. They're going to come in contact with land holders and others. And so it's relevant. Fiji is a company, Fiji is a country that Australia and indeed many other countries give foreign aid to. And at the moment, Australia's on its way to having $1 trillion of government debt, and we're still supporting countries like Fiji, and fair enough. But in return, we would want to know that that countries like Fiji have some anti-corruption measures and all the rest. Now, even countries like China are no doubt providing aid to Fiji, and they would want to know that their aid money is being used wisely. So it's not that corruption and bribery and all the like are under control. Well, we think it's relevant that Ralph, we shine some lights here. Ralph claims to be a businessman. That is his in his affidavits. He's sworn his occupation is he's a businessman. Previously, he worked for a man called Mohan Kumar. Mohan Kumar boarded a plane from Sydney to Denpasar on about the 25th of October 2015, and upon arrival in Denpasar in Indonesia, Bali, Indonesia, he was arrested, and he was later extradited. The allegation is that Mohan Kumar is actually not Mohan Kumar, and that he was carrying a false passport. I don't know whether that's the truth or not. All I know is that that person, Ralph, was employed by that person. Ralph still today, 9th of December 2020, Ralph holds a power of attorney over Mohan Kumar. The allegations against the person that travels on a passport saying that they're Mohan Kumar is that he's someone else, and that particular person is an associate of one of the 10 most wanted peoples in the world. On the FBI most wanted list, he's an associate of one of the 10th most wanted people in the world. The allegation is that the person that claims to be Mohan Kumar is actually a gangster and has killed dozens of people, and is involved in extortion and all sorts of extremely very, very serious criminal activities. That this person was on the run from the Indian authorities for something like 25 years. That this person is now in jail in India and probably will never be released. And Ralph is associated with a person who is in jail in India, is alleged to be a gangster, alleged to have murdered in excess of 1, 2, 3 dozen people, a lot of people, very serious. He's alleged to be involved in extortion and all the rest. And Ralph holds a power of attorney for this particular person. So it's an association that government officials in Australia, in Fiji, in China, wherever, ought to, it's in the public interest to know that this is who Ralph Palagaro is. He is a person that is associated with someone who is accused of extremely serious crimes. So now I understand that the accusation is one thing, but I understand that Mr. Kumar, if that's his name, and it's alleged that I'll put up his name, but it's alleged that he is a gangster called known as Chota Rajan. And I can't pronounce his allegedly true name, but I'll put that up, and I'll provide a whole series of links of who Mohan Kumar is alleged to be. And if that is the case, then Ralph is an associate of an extremely undesirable person. So in the eyes of Indian law. So it's something that public officials in Fiji, in Australia, in China, in India, and anywhere else may want to know, and it's probably in the public interest, and therefore we're putting it out there. So we've got a blog. You can just Google Ralph Paligaru. That's spelled Paligaru, Ralph Paligaru. Just Google that, and it should be in the first one or two links to our website, which is dcpartners.solutions. And there's a blog there that sets out some of the history, the association, the dealings. Ralph Paligaru is undoubtedly connected with Mohan Kumar. And whether he's connected with Chota Rajan, the Indian authorities think Mohan Kumar is Chota Rajan, but I can't prove it. So you be the judge and take whatever reasonable steps you feel are appropriate. Thank you for watching Season 1, Episode 3 of the Many R's podcast. And again, we apologise, there's a bit of a gap between Episode 2 and Episode 3. But all the exams are all out of the way for me. So yeah, I think we have, as I said, mountains and mountains of content. And there is especially a lot to go up between posting this or filming this, and well, in the next couple of days there's going to be a lot go up on Westpac, a lot of documents, a lot on Paligaru, and some things on Saunders. So hopefully we'll be back in front of you very, very shortly with Episode 4 and of the Many R's podcast, and we hope to be talking about Saunders, Westpac, and Paligaru, and all of those things. And we can actually then comment on things that are on our website, on our blog, and what they all mean, and some of the significance of these, and we'll provide lots of links and so on. So hopefully the context will start to make a lot more sense in the very near future. If you've got any questions, come to our website, which is www.dcpartners.solutions/podcast. Down the bottom right-hand corner is a chat tool. You can click on that and chat to us in real time. Otherwise, you're very welcome to give us a call, 1300 327 123. We'd love to chat with you, love to talk and hear about any problems, business interruption insurance, if you've got any asset protection bits and pieces. And in the very near future, we are actually putting out a well, we have out available in the market right now a couple of information memorandums seeking investment for what's called the Legal Services Capital Trust. So if you're looking for some investment opportunities, you can come to our website or chat with us in the bottom right corner of your screen, and we can get you a copy of the information memorandum. There is a new one coming out probably before Christmas, giving you some opportunities to invest in Orange if you'd like. And there's a tourism fund coming out, pardon me, very, very shortly. So lots and lots and lots of things in the pipeline. And we look forward to chatting with you about those things in episode 4. Thank you.